On behalf of Rensselaer, I would like to begin by thanking some of our corporate sponsors who helped make this evening possible. A special thank you to IBM, who's our dinner sponsor for tonight. I'd also like to recognize those companies who have joined our Bridging the Gap Circle, including Sodexo, United Airlines, and Western Digital. In supporting Bridging the Gap, you make it possible for Rensselaer to provide world-class education for students regardless of their socioeconomic backgrounds. Thank you so much to Sodexo for being a longtime supporter of scholarships at Rensselaer. Thank you to United Airlines, which is not only partnering on scholarship, but also is donating travel vouchers so that we can bring aspiring students to the campus from financially disadvantaged communities. And I'd also like to recognize Western Digital for now who has made Rensselaer part of their Western Digital Scholarship STEM program, which is very few universities are part of this, and we were selected this year to be a part of it, so thank you, Western Digital. So I'd also like to thank our corporate and associate sponsors as well. Applied Materials, Cisco, Direct Energy, Facebook, Juniper Networks, Rensselaer Alumni Association, Salesforce, and Xilinx. Please join me in welcoming. Not bad for the first time out, so thank you again. Tonight is part of a larger outreach and engagement effort that began with the October 13, 2017 launch of our capital campaign, Transformative Campaign for Global Change. We launched the campaign to coincide with Reunion and Homecoming Weekend, and did so because we wanted to create an immersive and enriching experience for the Rensselaer community and to bring the life of the new Polytechnic, a dynamic paradigm for teaching, learning, and research. Here, too, we bring the new Polytechnic tonight. This series of events that took place this afternoon was designed to showcase our innovation approach to pedagogy, leading-edge research projects underway by our faculty and students, and real-world examples of how our faculty, our interdisciplinary research, is empowering Rensselaer to address the complex global changes in transformative ways. For those of you who are unable to attend this afternoon events, videos and photography will be available on our Institute website. This evening, we will hear more about Rensselaer, its transformed and transformative, learn how you can support the campaign and secure the future of Rensselaer for generations to come. And someone who was born and raised in California, it is gratifying both personally and professionally to be part of this effort, continuing strengthening connections with our West Coast family, and to unify Rensselaer's community from coast to coast in support of others on our Institute. Thank you. And now it's great pleasure to introduce Chairman of the Rensselaer Board of Trustees, Mr. Arthur Golden, of the class of 1966, who can elaborate on our outreach efforts. Please join us.
Good evening. As chair of the RPI Board of Trustees, it's my pleasure to be here with you tonight. Now, as chairman, I know my role. It's to talk a bit about what we're trying to do here. It's to introduce our fearless president, be brief, and get out of the way. And I intend to do all of those things. Our CEO, Dr. Jackson, and members of the board, and the academic and administrative leaders from across the Institute have been engaged in a concerted effort to greatly expand and enhance the quality and scope and value of our outreach and engagement with the entire RPI community, but particularly with those of you from across the country and around the world, especially California, where we have a great contingent. I'd like to describe to you briefly one such initiative that's taking place right here in California, and which will be expanded and is in the process of being expanded to New York City and Boston in the near future. It should come as no surprise to anyone that so many of our alums have come to call this region home, where the demand for highly educated, technologically sophisticated, and intellectually creative individuals continues to increase exponentially. So in addition to the many parents here of students, in Silicon Valley and the Bay Area alone, there are over 4,000 alums, many of whom are working in positions of senior leadership at major companies, private equity and venture capital firms, and many others who are engaged in the innovation entrepreneurial endeavors that we try to teach to everyone in the hope that they will pursue them. Strengthening this bond with this growing cohort of West Coast alums, alumni, parents, we regard as essential if we can continue to raise the awareness of RPI and the prominence of Rensselaer as a world-class technological research university. And we also want to continue what is a line with a great slope of attracting the best and the brightest students from this part of the country, who are becoming an increasingly large percentage of our overall class. So we engaged with this community and sought your ideas and input on how best to accomplish these goals. Not surprisingly, we discovered that there is great interest in participating in new and different programs and forums to meet and engage with one another, the people here, and to meet and engage with RPI. And that if Rensselaer took the lead in creating such a network focused on your shared interests and affinities, the benefits for this community and for the Institute have the potential to be enduring and far-reaching. This feedback led to the establishment of the Rensselaer Silicon Valley Network and the development of programs and events tailored to this community. Over the course of the past year, Dr. Jackson and other Rensselaer leaders have participated in a number of thought leadership and networking events. A year ago today, Dr. Jackson hosted the first of 3 industry leaders' dinners in Palo Alto. At the second industry leaders' dinner held in the fall of 2017, she spoke of the need to establish a Rensselaer Silicon Valley Executive Council to provide guidance and expertise to us and for the network. In December of 2017, our provost, Dr. Prabhat Hajela, hosted a third such dinner at which attendees discussed the framework of the Executive Council and its priorities. So tonight, I'm very happy to announce the official launch of the Rensselaer Silicon Valley Executive Council and to recognize one of our most decorated alums in terms of the number of degrees, Dr. John Capek, classes of 1983, 1984, 1985, 1987, and 1988. He finally graduated with more degrees than most of us can count, and he is our council chair. Now, working together with Dr. Hajela, who has been appointed council co-chair, the Executive Council will do some and more of the following things. Lead in further elevating the Rensselaer brand and serve as our ambassadors for the region. Partner with Rensselaer to build partnerships through the implementation of alumni and alumni corporate champion model with emerging and established companies. Assist Rensselaer in creating strategic alliances with leading business accelerators to build relationships with promising startups, which is one of the things we most want to emphasize in terms of helping these students realize their entrepreneurial dreams. Host the engaging thought leadership and network events we hope that will continue. Connect Rensselaer students in the ARCH program, which, as you all know, is this what we think is a great new, we know it's new, but a great innovative program to educate and at the same time give experience to these students. And connect the parents and students to one another in the region. And last, but certainly not least, to support the Institute's capital campaign, transformative campaign for global change. The Executive Council recently established 5 subcommittees to focus on these initiatives, and I'm pleased to announce that Ms. Cheryl Porro of the class of 1990 and Senior Vice President of Salesforce.org has agreed to serve as co-chair of the Council's Subcommittee for Women's Leadership. And one of our parents, Mrs. Adrienne Roberts, who is the parent of Russell Roberts, class of 2021, will co-chair the Council's Subcommittee for Parents. The establishment of the Rensselaer Silicon Valley Network and its Executive Council, and this terrific launch of our West Coast Scholarship Gala program further illustrate how we, with your efforts, will help RPI continue to grow and to thrive as it enters its third century. We are, at the Institute, we are in what I believe are the latter stages of an almost 2-decade-long program. And it's been an increasingly successful program to reimagine, reinvent, and transform Rensselaer. As everyone in this room knows, organizations need to do that periodically or they won't be there that long. We have been doing it, we're continuing to do it, and I think we're all seeing and will continue to see the fruits of that. So now I have the great privilege of, in my role as Ed McMahon for Johnny Carson, introducing the leader of that program and the Imagineer of our transformation, the 18th president of Rensselaer, Shirley Ann Jackson.
It's not clear who is Ed McMahon and who's Johnny Carson here. Welcome, everyone. I, too, would like to thank our generous corporate sponsors, our trustees, and other stakeholders for making this remarkable evening possible. I would like to begin by acknowledging our trustees, members of my cabinet, and other leaders from across the Institute, because these are the people who ensure that our students have one of the best college experiences in the world. Now, among our trustees tonight, we have with us, and you have just met him, Mr. Arthur Golden, senior partner at the law firm of Debevoise and Plimpton. Davis Polk, that's right. He's a member of the great class of 1966. Ms. Wanda Denson Lowe of the equally great class of 1978 and former senior vice president of the Boeing Company. I think I have that right. And Ron Lowe, who is with her, parent of a Rensselaer alumnus from the class of 2012, Chris Lowe. We also have with us Mr. Curtis Preem of the class of 1982, and his lovely wife, Cindy Preem, and their son, Gabriel Preem. And Curtis is secretary of the Board of Trustees. We also have Mr. Ed Zander of the truly great class of 1968, and he knows why I say that, and Mrs. Mona Sanders, Mrs. Linda Jojo of the class of 1987, and Mr. Robert Jojo, her husband, also of the class of 1987. Mr. Frank Fisher of the classes of 1964 and 65, and Mrs. Jean Fisher, and Mr. Thomas Baruch of the class of 1960, and Mrs. Johanna Baruch. And we have a very special person, former trustee and parent of an alumnus from the class of 1977, Mr. Harlan Anderson. And so I would like to have all of them stand and be recognized, please. And now I have the pleasure of introducing the President's Cabinet, Mr. Craig Cook, Secretary of the Institute and General Counsel, Dr. Jonathan Dordick, Vice President for Research, Mr. Greg Easton, you can stand up as I call your names, Vice President for Institute Advancement, Dr. Prabhat Hajela, our Provost and Chief Academic Officer, Ms. Richie Hunter, Vice President for Strategic Communications and External Relations, Mr. John Kolb of the class of 1979, Vice President for Information Services and Technology and Chief Information Officer, Mr. Curtis Powell, Vice President for Human Resources, Mr. Lenormand Strong, Interim Vice President for Student Life, Mr. Claude Browns, Vice President for Administration, and Mr. Jonathan Wexler, Vice President for Enrollment Management. Please join me. We also have with us, and I hope he's here tonight, is Mr. Johannes Goebbel, who's Director of the Curtis R. Priam Experimental Media and Performing Arts Center, and Mr. James Spencer, who is Executive Director of the Rensselaer Technology Park. But the ones who are closest to our students are our deans, and I would like to introduce and recognize them. Dr. Thomas Begley, Dean of the Lally School of Management. Dr. Kurt Brenneman, Dean of the School of Science. Mr. Evan Douglas, Dean of the School of Architecture. And Dr. Shekhar Garde, Dean of the School of Engineering. Unable to be with us tonight is Dr. Mary Simone, Dean of the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. I also, thank you, would like to recognize the President of the Board of the Rensselaer Alumni Association, who is here with us tonight, Mr. Kareem Muhammad of the Rensselaer class of 2001. Now, since the launch of our capital campaign, Transformative Campaign for Global Change, I, along with leaders from across the Institute, have been traveling across the country and around the world to engage with the Rensselaer community. We have hosted events in New York City, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., Boston, Sarasota, Fort Myers, West Palm Beach, and Miami, Florida. And internationally, we have visited with our alumni and alumnae in Dubai and in Zurich, Switzerland. And next month, we will be heading to China on a 3-city tour that will include major events in Beijing, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. But this weekend, we are so very glad to join you here in California, where so many of our alumni and alumnae are, in fact, changing the world. You know, Rensselaer graduates always have been at the frontiers of science, technology, public policy, and culture, and they have come for a long time to the West Coast to reimagine what is possible and to transform industries. So we do feel a great coast-to-coast connection at Rensselaer, and as Arthur Golden spoke to, it is one that we have invigorated with the Rensselaer Silicon Valley network of business leaders, led, as you heard, by Executive Council Chair Dr. John Capek, who is Executive Vice President for Ventures at the global healthcare company Abbott. And you heard all the classes that he was a member of. And I will tell you, he got in those years a Bachelor's of Science degree, 2 master's degree, an MBA, and a PhD from Rensselaer. Dr. John Capek. And the council is co-chaired by our provost, whom I introduced earlier, Dr. Prabhat Hajela. Now, Dr. Capek is part of the grand tradition of Rensselaer alumni and alumnae uniting New York and California. Now, who do you think the first was? This is not a test, so I'll tell you. It was Theodore Judah, the visionary civil engineer who made the Transcontinental Railroad a reality by surveying a route for it through the Sierra Nevada mountains, by finding investors for it, and by inspiring support for it in Washington, D.C. Mr. Judah turned what had been a 6-month journey from New York to California into one that could be completed in 4 or 5 days. But let us not forget, in another realm, George Lowe of the Rensselaer class of 1948, and the 14th president of Rensselaer, who as NASA operations director was truly instrumental in placing man on the moon. But Rensselaer graduates were not only instrumental in inventing the physical infrastructure that connected the coast and other parts of the world, and in getting us into space and beyond, but also the digital infrastructure that connects our world. And I thought I would remind you of some of that here in so close to Silicon Valley. And that includes the invention of the microprocessor by Dr. Marcian E. Ted Hoff of the class of 1958. Pioneers in artificial intelligence, Dr. Bert Raphael of the class of 1957 and Dr. Peter Hart of the class of 1962, who created Shaky, the first intelligent mobile robot. Mr. Steve Sasson of the class of 1972, who invented the digital camera. Mr. Ray Tomlinson of the class of 1963, who invented networked email and gave us the @ sign in our digital addresses. Mr. Tom Baruch of the class of 1960, whose company Baruch Future Ventures, LLC, has funded numerous entrepreneurial firms in the science and technology space. And Dr. Charles Taylor of the classes of 1987, 91, and 92, whose company HeartFlow has pioneered the combination of sophisticated computer simulations with medical imaging data to model a cardiac patient's blood flow non-invasively. More recently, out here, but a little south of here, Rensselaer graduates have developed key aspects of the Mars rovers that have been exploring the red planet. So we're all over the place out here, and all over the place as far as the universe is concerned. Now, in this audience are men and women who continue to advance foundational technologies. And I can't talk about them all, but they include Mr. Curtis R. Priam of the class of 1982, secretary of our board. A pioneer in visual computing, he designed the first graphics processor for the PC. He co-founded the company NVIDIA based on his graphics chips designs, and he helped to set in motion revolutionary progress in perceptual artificial intelligence that is poised to bring us autonomous vehicles and many other technologies. But tonight I have the great privilege and pleasure of telling you how we're educating the next generations of technological leaders, as well as changing the world through our research and pedagogy. You got a little hint of that this afternoon. First of all, the signs of success are everywhere at Rensselaer. We had the greatest number of applicants for our freshman class in our history, with nearly 20,400, and that was an increase over the record-breaking number of applications we received last year. We have admitted and are about to enroll the strongest and most diverse class in our history. We have had the privilege of enrolling increasing numbers of students from the West Coast and California in particular. And we're very proud that several members of the Rensselaer Board of Trustees call the Golden State of California home. And we appreciate their willingness to act as loyal ambassadors on the West Coast. We're grateful to Wanda Denson Lowe and Ron Lowe, parents of 2012 graduate Chris Lowe, and we're grateful to Nancy Mueller. And together their shared vision, devotion, and generosity have fostered a sense of community here on the West Coast. The events they host for accepted and incoming students have become treasured Rensselaer traditions, vital to our enrollment objectives. Thanks to their efforts, as well as those of the Rensselaer Alumni Association, led by President Kareem Muhammad, applications from West Coast students, but California students in particular, for our freshman class were up 10% over just a year ago, and they continue to move on that trajectory. And we have nearly 100 confirmed California members of the class of 2022, our entering class. Now, there are other factors as well. Our rising reputation also helps to explain this demand. As you've seen and heard, our undergraduate information technology and web sciences program has been ranked first in the nation by College Choice. College Choice also has ranked the Lally School of Management second among undergraduate business schools in New York, and Rensselaer as a whole, 8th among the best colleges in the state. Our Masters of Business Analytics program has been ranked third in the nation by TFE Times. Our undergraduate physics program is ranked sixth by College Factual, and proving once again that Rensselaer leads at the nexus of art and technology, and you got a glimpse of this afternoon. Our Games and Simulation Arts and Sciences program is ranked sixth by thebestschool.org, seventh by gamedesigning.org, and 12th by the Art Career Project. Our School of Architecture is ranked 13th in the nation by Design Intelligence. Now, we derive this strength from a strong vision for ourselves that inspires Rensselaer students, faculty, and staff alike. We operate within the paradigm of the new Polytechnic, in which we continue to educate our students for deep foundational knowledge in their chosen fields, while we also serve as a great crossroads for the exchange of ideas across disciplines, sectors, geographies, and generations. We bring together talented people from everywhere to address the greatest of challenges using the most advanced tools and technologies. We support these collaborations with the world-class platforms for research, education, and student life and growth that now define our campus, including the Curtis R. Priam Experimental Media and Performing Arts Center, the Center for Biotechnology and Interdisciplinary Studies, the East Campus Athletic Village, and the Center for Computational Innovations, which houses the most powerful supercomputer at an American private university, as well as a physical instantiation of Watson, the transformative IBM cognitive computing system, largely developed by Rensselaer graduates at IBM under the aegis of Dr. John E. Kelly III of the Rensselaer classes of 1978 and 80, who is Senior Vice President of Cognitive Solutions and of IBM Research, and who also is a Rensselaer trustee. Another key factor is our world-class faculty, which includes members of the National Academy of Engineering, the National Academy of Sciences, and the National Academy of Inventors, several professors who serve on national panels and committees, hundreds of fellows of technical and professional societies, dozens of early career award recipients. You know, we get career award recipients every year. It's a big deal. We have numerous winners of national and international awards, and together they have helped Rensselaer to vastly expand its research enterprise, even in a difficult funding climate. But importantly, it's the work that they do, the impactful work that they do that matters. And we focus support for new research around 5 signature thrusts, which are crucial areas of multidisciplinary research in biotechnology and the life sciences, computational science and engineering, in media, the arts, science and technology, in energy, the environment and smart systems, and in nanotechnology and advanced materials. And within these signature thrusts, Rensselaer faculty are doing astonishing work. So let me give you an example. Professor Jürgen Hahn has developed the very first physiological rather than behavioral test for autism by applying big data analytics to numerous metabolites in blood, together with social psychological data, and creating an algorithm then to determine from analyzing metabolites whether someone is on the autism scale, and indeed to suggest where on the spectrum they might land. Now, this breakthrough will not only allow earlier intervention for children, it may well point the way to potential treatments. Now, we have attracted distinguished partners to amplify our efforts, affiliating, for example, with the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai in both research and education. We are working alongside IBM in a number of groundbreaking efforts. These include the Jefferson Project at Lake George, which is developing a new model for the conservation of freshwater resources. Our science-based model is driven in part by the enormous amount of streaming data delivered by 41 different smart sensor programs that we have placed in and around Lake George, an hour north of our Troy campus. The Jefferson Project combines Internet of Things technology, predictive analytics, and basic science to create a comprehensive model for environmental monitoring and prediction. The Helen Jo and John E. Kelly III Data Visualization Lab, a state-of-the-art research center which meshes cutting-edge graphics processing with modern data collection and analytics, is integral to this research and is located within the Margaret A. and David N. Darren Class of 40 Freshwater Institute on Lake George. The smart sensor platforms are able to perceive the changing environment around them and to make adjustments, such as taking more measurements when something interesting, such as a storm, is brewing. They also are helping us to truly understand the lake as a system of systems so that we can protect its water and gain new insights into managing freshwater resources around the globe, including here in California, which, like many places in the world, has struggled with protracted droughts. Our partnerships with IBM also include something you heard about today, our Cognitive and Immersive Systems Laboratory, or the CISL at Impact, which is linking cognitive computing with human-scale immersive environments to create a smart boardroom or classroom with the goal of radically enhancing group learning and decision-making through the interaction of humans with societies or hierarchies of cognitive digital agents. That means they're interacting with each other as well. Now, both the Jefferson Project and the CISL employ cyber-physical systems, but this is well beyond your typical Internet of Things technology, because at Rensselaer, we believe that as the fourth industrial revolution unfolds with the merging of the digital, the physical, and biological realms, one of its linchpins will be an intelligent Internet of intelligent things, so that intelligence is distributed throughout the systems. In other words, the network is smart and recognizes opportunities and vulnerabilities in data streams, and the devices it connects also are smart, able to adapt to changing conditions. Now, this intelligent Internet of Intelligent Things is crucial to addressing many challenges and opportunities, from cybersecurity to advanced robotics to enabling personalized medicine to making use of the tsunami of digital data humanity generates every day. Now, building on all of these ideas and efforts and to flesh them out, we recently announced a multi-year partnership with IBM focused on artificial intelligence and machine learning. But to stay on the leading edge in education as well as research, we're adding to our academic offerings in emerging fields. In fact, we have added 22 new academic programs and degrees over the course of the Rensselaer Plan. And through the efforts of Dr. Mary Simone, Dean of our School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences, we have now a new Bachelor of Science in music that will begin this fall, as well as a new focus in quantitative health economics in our economics department. We're developing a new Bachelor of Science program in the Lally School in quantitative finance and analytics that builds on a master's degree program in quantitative finance and risk analytics. And in the School of Science, a new program of study in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, overall, we engage our students with a revolutionary pedagogy that includes the gamification of courses, immersive experiences, hands-on experiential learning, and the interaction with artificially intelligent characters. Now, as we do all of this, we encourage new ways of seeing and thinking that cross fields. Recently, we launched an initiative that received a fair amount of attention around the nation, a data dexterity requirement to ensure that all undergraduates learn how to use diverse data sets to define and solve complex problems. Rensselaer students will complete 2 data-intensive courses, one to establish the foundations of data modeling and analysis, and a second course specific to their major. In addition, an initiative that we have created that you heard an example of this afternoon titled Ardex, which focuses on the art in and of science and the science in and of art, also encourages creativity across disciplines and domains. But we're really focused through heightening the experiential learning we offer on encouraging intellectual agility, multicultural sophistication, and a global view. And so we really do the real thing when we believe in something. And so we're doing that by reorganizing the academic calendar with the launch in the summer of 2019 of the Arch. Think of the Arch as you think of St. Louis, the gateway. The Arch will have all Rensselaer undergraduates remain on the campus for the summer after their sophomore year, engaged in the full complement of junior level classes, and then are required to leave the campus for a full semester and beyond of the usual academic year for an intellectual adventure uniquely suited to their own passions and interests, and still graduate within the usual time span. Now, we hope that all of you will consider opportunities within your organizations and networks for talented Rensselaer juniors for their experiences during their away semesters. But encompassing the entire student experience is class, clustered learning, advocacy, and support for students. And with class, we nurture students in tight-knit residential groups and offer as well time-based clustering that gives them increasing opportunities appropriate to their stage of academic and personal development. Now, those of you who attended the Class Alive luncheon today had the opportunity to hear firsthand about one of the best student experiences in the United States from among the best students in the world. Now, as a result of all of these efforts, Rensselaer retention and graduation rates have increased significantly, and the outcomes for our graduates are excellent. In terms of the graduate schools where they are accepted, the salaries they command, the leadership roles they assume, the service they provide to our country, the enterprises they launch, and most importantly, the meaningful and fulfilling lives they lead. So Rensselaer has been transformed. But our mission, hearkening back to our very founding, is to be transformative in the world at large. In the words of our philanthropic founder, Stephen Van Rensselaer, Rensselaer was created to forward, and I quote, the diffusion of a very useful kind of knowledge with its application to the business of living. That is what he said. And as you know, and I don't have to tell you, the world faces complex and interconnected global challenges with concomitant opportunities arising from those challenges, which beg to be seized. As we consider everything from climate change and the rise of disruptive non-state actors on the one hand, sometimes state actors, to remarkable advances in artificial intelligence and genomics on the other, the world needs Rensselaer people to find new solutions, to discover new possibilities, and to transform the business of living for a global population projected to reach 8.6 billion by 2030. To ready Rensselaer, the first and oldest technological research university in the nation, for global leadership in the 21st century, we have begun a $1 billion capital campaign, transformative campaign for global change. Chairing our campaign are Kathleen M. Severino and trustee Paul J. Severino of the class of 1969. As you may recall, our last campaign, Renaissance at Rensselaer, was so successful that we ended up increasing the goal, the target, and reached that 9 months early. Now, we intend to do no less here. And after launching in October of last year at a wonderful gala evening that included 800 friends of Rensselaer, our current campaign is off to a very exciting start. The transformative campaign, as Greg has said, has 3 pillars. The first is increasing student financial aid and enhancing the remarkable student experience at Rensselaer. Now, the cost of the education we offer, a technologically rooted one that is world-class, immersive, and experiential, means that our ability to offer financial aid must bridge the cost gap for many students. Because we understand that brilliance does not come exclusively in wealthy packages, because we intend to accept the very best students, regardless of their socioeconomic backgrounds, and because we intend to honor the intensely democratic vision of Stephen Van Rensselaer, who established his school to place knowledge equally within the reach of all. We simply must add to our endowment to better meet student financial need. I was a scholarship student. My father also worked 2 jobs for me to go to college, and I worked as well. But that scholarship changed my life, and many of you, I'm sure, were scholarship students. And so we understand the difference such generosity can make in a young person's life and in his or her ability to do great work in the world. Our second pillar focuses on our faculty. We will use the resources unleashed by the campaign to create new endowed professorships that will allow us to attract and retain the very best academic talent from around the world. We will draw gifted teachers and researchers to the new Polytechnic to do world-changing work in their laboratories and classrooms, and to ensure that our students, working with them on their investigations, learn at the leading edge of their fields. Endowed chairs will allow us to expand our tenured and tenure-track faculty to 500, so that Rensselaer can achieve intellectual critical mass and lead in all crucial areas of research and education that comport with our founding mission, the application of science to the common purposes of life. Our third pillar focuses on our beautiful Troy campus, which we must grow, continue to modernize, and equip for continued leadership in pedagogy, research, and student life. Our campaign will allow us to increase student housing, to upgrade and expand undergraduate laboratories, classrooms, and experiential spaces, to build a state-of-the-art center for science, to complete the second phase of our East Campus Athletic Village, to expand our Johnson Engineering Center, and to create practice rooms and teaching studios for the increasing numbers of students pursuing music at Rensselaer. So as we consider the world around us, the stakes are high, but the opportunities are clear. The urgency is real. The world truly needs that particular combination of qualities that characterizes the men and women of Rensselaer, that combination of audacity, tenacity, creativity, pragmatism, and the refusal to be daunted by the scale of a challenge. Now, most of you have had the benefit of a Rensselaer education and have been transformative in your lives and careers. And so we hope that you will join with us, join with your alma mater to help the next generations to change the world. So I want to thank all of you for being here. We will continue with our program after we let you eat a little bit more. So please enjoy your dinner. Thank you very much.